Rugga Muffin podcast to welcome you all. Welcome back to another show. This is X reacting to rugby, student of Rassi Rasmus, your favorite rugby fan. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here at another weekend. We didn't have a lot of rugby, but I thought the best thing to start this is to sort of recalibrate our rugby sort of tentacles. Springboks can come in and just steal the spotlight. We cannot forget about the Blue Bulls. The Bulls are taking on the Vodacom Bulls, if I might correct myself, taking on Glasgow. Jeez, did I really want Glasgow to make it to the final? That's bad. We're taking on Leinster, guys, in Ireland. They are playing in Cork. I think that's the Munster home stadium, is it? I don't think we are playing, the Bulls are playing Leinster in their home stadium, which I think is something that Bulls are really sort of getting a luck with lately, even in the semi-final. Obviously, having to go play in another stadium where there was grass, it was Edinburgh's home stadium, not Glasgow's home stadium. Now they seem to be playing Leinster in Munster's home stadium as well. But something interesting about the Bulls, guys, the Bulls actually came home. The Bulls did fly back to South Africa after that game in Scotland. A lot of us may have assumed, including myself, that maybe they would have spent all that time in Europe, save money on travel. But they decided to come back. Do you want to talk about maybe some of those factors? Maybe if we look at where Leinster is, the Munster Stadium, where is it in terms of altitude-wise? Do they feel like they'll get more benefit coming back home and training in, obviously, the so-called harsh conditions of being in Upper Mountain in Johannesburg? Did they learn a thing or two maybe from the Lions? Because the Lions had that approach after they won their last game going into the quarterfinal. They stayed in Europe for an extra week, prepared that side, and we all know how that resulted like. So I don't know. I don't know if the Bulls, was that the best choice? I do know they're probably flying out tomorrow, which is Monday, to Leinster to go play the final. Guys, the Bulls squad is out. Strong squad. They have got a couple of names there. I hope that Cheswell Uster is probably one of the few changes that you probably would see in that team. Obviously, he was carrying a bit of a niggle. We did see Sergio Peterson. We did see guys coming in there, sort of covering in that position. Stravino Jacobs, I was literally about to go off because how can you forget about Stravino? I think he really did put in a couple of good shifts. But I do think that jersey is Cheswell. If it's not Cheswell, it's Sebastian de Klerk. Both of these guys being called up in the Springbok squad. So that's probably the one change I probably will see in the back line. I do not think we're going to see any change when it comes to Handre Pollard. Ladies and gentlemen, if we look at the changes that the Bulls have made since last year, it is their head coach and it is their floor half. Those are probably the biggest acquisitions, and those two are going to be the game changers for this weekend. The Bulls have made the finals 2 other times. Was it 3 times? Is it the 3rd time now? 3rd time lucky? Last time, I think Bulls did have lost the final in Pretoria to Glasgow or to Leinster. So, look, all I'm saying is the Bulls are taking it this time around. I think they've got sort of their recipe that they were looking for. They've got a coach who's not going out in public and saying things about their players. They've got a coach who's not sitting alone with the 5 liters of water around him. You know how Jake White used to move, guys. They've got a guy now who seems to be building a bit of culture. They're talking about being unbreakable. They've had a series that they've been releasing on social media talking about just their mantra as a team. There were a few more questions maybe with regards to the defensive efforts, but I want to bring you back to the semi-final, guys. The Bulls were trailing in halftime. And I think if we're talking about a final, as a team, I think there's only one thing that you probably want to do right, and it's to improve from your last fixture. I don't think we should dwell too much on how they've played and what happened during the season. There's one game left, and it's this one, and this is the one they need to perfect. Yes, you want to have perfect games coming in because at the end of the day, you want to make a final, but the final is the perfect game, in my opinion, and I think the Bulls have all the recipe to get that done. They'll probably go with the 6-2, I'm inclined to think. With the Stedman Gans on the bench, who's been very good in terms of bringing that impact from the bench defensively, linking up with the wing nicely in those defensive patterns. Yeah, like I said, Cheswell Uster put him in there. Wilco Low was back already, came off the bench. Does he start or does he come off the bench? Look, we're not going to waste too much time with the Bulls in terms of trying to figure out what their team will look like. Ackerman will definitely give us those answers during the week, but we are behind the Bulls. I probably should have worn a blue shirt today, but we are behind the Bulls. Everyone in South Africa should be behind the Bulls right now. I'm a Sharks fan, as you may all know, but we are backing South Africa. South Africa this coming weekend are playing 3 fixtures, ladies and gentlemen. 3. Include this one, because this is technically South Africa versus Ireland. It is a final away in it's Cork, C-O-R-K, guys. I promise you, it's in Ireland. You can Google it, guys. We move on ever so swiftly. We don't want to spend too much time. Last time we said 30 minutes, we made it to 50. The Springboks, like I said, they came in this week and they literally took the spotlight. Press conferences. Guys, youngsters being called in. So we're gonna start straight with it. We were lucky enough to go to the training session with the Springboks. We did see a couple of things. Now, as soon as the squad was released, 51-man squad, we saw a lot of predictions coming out. We're predicting the A team to look like this, B team to look like this. And upon our visit, we did take note that one, Damian Willemse, Eben Etzebeth were not really taking part in training. And although he was kitted out, it did look like Batubele Hlekani was not really as involved in the festivities that were happening on field. But Rassie Erasmus does also confirm that everyone they've chosen can play. It's just all up to them with regards to who do they feel has played a lot of rugby. Obviously, with Rassie Erasmus, you want a result. He has confirmed, ladies and gentlemen, that with the Springboks, winning is number 1. All right, we're not gonna, yes, we're gonna be doing our thing, but we want to be unbeaten. We've been wanting to be unbeaten for the past 2 seasons. Yes, we let 2-3 losses go, but we have another season here where we can try do it. 14 on the chart. Now, when we talk about predictions, I do have a predicted team, but I just want to preface by saying this is not more of a prediction. This is an experiment. I cheated. I waited for Dr. Rassie Erasmus to come talk to us, let us know what's going on. I'm not going to be Sherlock Holmes, guys. You cannot get into that man's mind. So I felt like just give myself less work. Let's hear what Rassie has got to say. So he mentioned a few things that he wants. He wants to give a couple of guys that haven't had game time a bit of game time. Which guys could those be? Definitely Sharks players. Hey, Sharks players haven't played since the 16th round in URC. All right. Stormers, Lions made into the quarters. They've played an extra week. Stormers went into the semis. They played an extra week. Obviously, we don't have the Bulls because they're still involved. So if we're talking about guys that haven't played a lot of rugby, we're talking about the Sharks players. So definitely a very Shark sort of heavy team over there. And then if you're looking in Japan, I do know Lucanio Am played a promo relegation game for the Dynamos. I do know that Kwacha Smith, well, he is injured. So his team obviously had sort of fallen out pretty early. But Malcolm Marx made it into the final. Now, he's a guy that was sort of rumored to be injured. Rassie Erasmus put those rumors down. Malcolm Marx is fine. Damien D'Allender, I thought when I was watching that press conference, he kind of made a typo with his mouth. I think he wanted to say Damian Willemse, and then he said Damien D'Allender in the players that he may rest for this upcoming fixture. Now, obviously, I'm already confirming to you guys, Damien Willemse, I don't think will be playing against Barbarians. The reason I want to sort of pardon my lecturer here, Dr. Rassie Erasmus, I think it was a typo with his mouth. If Damien D'Allender has played a lot of rugby, then it would mean Jesse Creel has played a lot of rugby, which would then mean Cheslin Colby has played a lot of rugby, which would then mean, if you get what I mean, because these are guys that have played further in the Japan League One league. So I would like to believe Damien D'Allender will be involved this coming weekend. I do know Eben Etzebeth will not be involved. And then obviously with Salman Murat, Ruben Verheerden coming in. Let's see the team. I think it would be best if we see the team. Let's put the team up. Let's chat about the team, guys. This is the Rugga Muffin predicted team. Front row, Oxenchair, Malcolm Marx, Vincent Koch. All right, obviously, sorry about that. Vincent Koch, we've added him in the Sharks player. All right, Malcolm Marx coming from Japan. Oxenchair, Sharks player. You see where we're going with this? I then went on to put Ruben van Heerden because I would have thought with Eben Etzebeth obviously being rested, I stopped myself. His name was there already. I had to pull him out. Just for this, I had to pull him out. Riley Norton, I have him on the bench for the Springboks for this fixture. Some people do have him in the starting lineup. I will not be shocked if he is. Hey, I will not be shocked if Riley Norton starts, but I went with Ruben van Heerden and Franco Mostert on the locks. Loose trio, tried and tested. Because another thing that Rassie mentions here is what we want to take from this game, these upcoming games on the 20th of June, we want to be able to translate some of that into England. Remember, after next week, the squad looks completely different, but at the same time, that same squad will be playing against England. So I think certain combinations you would like to keep, especially that loose trio, because I think that's one area that England are probably strong in as well, with all the Curries and the Pollocks that they have over there. So I do think that Rassie will want those guys settled in terms of how they play, in terms of pods and all of that type of stuff. I went with Grant Williams and Manny Libok, 9 and 10. Now, a lot of us, Grant Williams, touch and go, injury, concussion. Grant Williams, he's fine. He's chosen. We put Grant Williams in over there. And then we went with Damien Dielander and Jesse Krill, another trialed and tested. Now, you'll probably see a lot. You probably see Jorenzo Julius in some teams at number 12. You probably see a lot of Damien, or rather Andre Easthuys in a 12 for some teams. But with what I mentioned, I do think that what Rassie meant was Damien Willemse, not Damien Dielander. Because then if I couldn't choose Dielander, that would mean that I can't choose Krill. Because these guys play in the same league, both went into playoffs, which would mean I can't choose. Cheslin Colby, I don't think he's even in South Africa yet. He probably arrived over the weekend. I did see Cheslin Colby's wife on Instagram, Leila, posting obviously them documents that they had to sign. They're relinquishing their sort of citizenship with Japan now that they're leaving Japan, but we're not going to get too sidetracked. Wings, Cheslin Colby, Edo van der Merwe, and then we've got Apelele Fassi at fullback. The bench is a bit interesting, I would think, for most of us. I went with Andre Hugo Venter, Ntutu Komkhunu, Zachary Porthen. I went with the full Stormers sort of front row over there, or Riley Norton with Paul de Villiers. Jeepers, I went with Stormers here? Did I put Ambrose Papier? Why didn't you? Coach, Ambrose Papier is not available.
Oh, yeah. Because he's playing.
Ambrose Papier is not available now. That's a very interesting one, because then that opens up a gap, doesn't it?
Hashim Peed, maybe?
I have Hashim Peed starting. Okay, we'll get there.
Okay, we'll get there. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
But let's say Hashim Peed on the bench then. Hashim Peed on the bench. That is the Springbok team. Now, guys, like I said to you, it's just an exercise that's fun to do. We want to keep ourselves entertained during the week. We want to sort of, I don't know if some of our predictions make it to those timelines of Springbok coaches, players. Maybe you feel like maybe you might have had a hand in a certain selection, but it's a nice exercise, keeps us entertained, and it'll be interesting to see. Maybe Tuesday, Rassie Erasmus gives us the Springbok team, and we will definitely come together and discuss it. That will definitely happen.
So it's usually Tuesday with that element of surprise, right? Just to put pressure on the opponents. But I don't think the Barbarians game is such a big deal. So if it's not Tuesday, it will probably come out when? Wednesday, Thursday? Usually Thursday.
Yeah, I think more than anything, it was always about the potential of teams being leaked. So I do not know who these documents get sent to, but it does seem like Rassie Erasmus, especially with also his weekly sort of procedure, he likes to get this press conference out at the beginning of the week so that he knows he doesn't have any more press conference duties. He can just focus on the team. It usually is the Mzwandile Stick is also the other head coach for the SAA. We might just perfect segue. Let's get the SAA team out. This is probably where it's going to be most interesting. Now, the SAA team, when we were asked with regards to what is the purpose of this team, now there's been a notion that has bubbled up in the last day or two with regards to new rules coming into sort of the rugby space. We recently were talking about one Bernard Janse van Rensburg, who has been called into the English squad to go obviously play for England, potentially play for England in this Nations Championship that's coming. Guys, we are playing England. First fixture. Janssen van Rensburg played one game, and I think he got about 20, if not 15 minutes for the under-20s in his year. And then he never really got a called up for the Springboks ever since. But since then, I'm sure he spent probably a year or two in South Africa. He then moved to England, and then he's been playing rugby that side. And it does seem like he's been one of the best. I mean, you get two centres, but he seems to have been the best centre in England in the Prem for a couple of years now. I'll stretch it and say maybe the last 4 years. And this year, he's finally eligible due to him playing for the under-20s. Now, it does look like what had happened is that World Rugby changed the rules, and they said, listen, we cannot use under-20 as your second-ranked team. What that means is you cannot use the under-20 as a representative. I knew that word was going to get me. A representative team. So should you play for the under-20s in the past, you were then not allowed to play for another nation. You had to sort of do the whole 3-year thing and all of that. I mean, we've seen with Josh Neal, he'd played under 18. I get it. But it does seem like the SAA is now the second-ranked team, where should you represent this team here, you are captured into the system, and you are then obviously barred from being able to play for another nation. You will have to then have a 3-year stand down of international rugby as a whole before you can represent another country. Now, obviously, this comes, a lot of tones have been pushed with this. I just mentioned a Josh Neal. We just saw the Mackenzies and Kingswood. Is it Fick? There's another, is it Matthew? Listen, some headlines I've seen, but couple of youngster schoolboy players leaving the country, signing with Racing 93s and 92s, signing with Edinburghs and all of that. It does kind of seem like there's some publications that are pushing some sort of, that's a type of a clapback to those type of developments. Obviously, looking now at the players, now let's look at the team, guys. Let's look at the team here. So front row, I went with Boan Venter, Liam van Wyk, and Handre Jacobs. Now, I went for Boan and Mkhunu. I had a bit of a question there because who's more superior than who, right? Boan Venter was very much involved last year when Mkhunu was not there, but Mkhunu had been there before. So that's why I figured, let's split them. I think Mkhunu has played enough. He plays in the country, so I think that does put you somewhat ahead in the stacking order if you're still keeping your trade within the country. So I think Mkhunu then benches for Springboks, and then we have Boan Venter here, and then have Oliver Reed as a cover. And then Handre Jacobs, again, Sharks player, not a lot of rugby. Get him in there. And then we've got Neethling Forshie. Now, the reason I put Neethling Forshie on the bench in the A team is that part of the reason for the outcomes for this team, according to our Dr. Rassie Erasmus, is to give some guys who are coming back from injury. And if you guys have been watching the Stormers played quite a bit of their season without Neethling Forshie. He's come back recently, obviously, with the playoffs. And I'd like to think his knee is somewhat heavily strapped, man. Neethling Forshie's knee, it's literally from mid-calf to mid-quad, wrapped around. So I do think maybe there's something there that still needs to be sorted out. Luot Deyaga and Vincent Chituka. Now, Luot Deyaga has actually played from Japan. I saw Luot Deyaga almost score a try in their, was it a quarterfinal? So Luot Deyaga has been playing in Japan already. I think he played about 1 or 2 games in Japan. He is ready. But at the same time, under the same injury sort of precaution, I've put him in the B team. Well, in the Springbok A team. Let me fix that. With Vincent Chituka on the locks, Mani Chituka on the 1 lock, Siba Mahash and Ivan Ruas at number 8. Hashim Peed. So I had Hashim Peed starting in the SAA team with Vusi Moyo. Now, I chose Vusi Moyo just primarily. Vusi Moyo is a specialist 10. You get a lot more from Luan, from Ziketelo at a fullback or bench position than you will get from a Vusi Moyo. So I gave Vusi Moyo the reins to control this team at number 10. Centers, Andre Estes and Lucanio I felt like that's a good... If you're going to have a lot of youngsters, you're going to have spine, right? I think if you have a center pairing of Handre and Lucanio, now Lucanio, his team, promotion relegation, they were on the outs, not so great. Also coming back from injury, Lucanio saw a couple of his games, and then you have this guy, Andre Esterhuizen, who's been a leader at the Sharks, has been a bulldozer the whole season. He could definitely give a front football there. And then you have Lorenzo Julius, Jacob Williams.
And I don't know if you had noticed, his knee was still heavily strapped during the training session. Did you notice?
Lucanio's arm's knee, I think, is one of those that will probably, that's just something he'll always strap for the rest of his career now. I think it's just one of those things in terms of just precaution.
Yeah, but irrespective of it being heavily strapped, he didn't look uncomfortable. But it's not like they were doing anything intensive. They were just heading the ball, kicking a soccer ball. I don't know what that was all about, but I kind of saw Mani heading the ball there like a professional football player.
Do you reckon that the Bafana could?
Probably, in support of Bafana.
My goodness. No, look, Lucanio, I think I appreciate that, you know how Rassi does things. It's pretty profound in a sense, because a lot of people, and I think I like it that we should be the only people that understand. And when I say we, I'm talking Springbok fans, I'm talking South Africans. I think that group, Lucanio Malcolm Marx, Handre Pollard, Peter Steve, Toy, Mostert, that whole 2019 crew, I think as much as Rassi sees how things are progressing, as much as Rassi sees the talent that's coming in, I think there is somewhat of an emotional hold there in terms of pulling that plug. I mean, Makazole Mampimpi is not involved here, but even with him not being involved here, you're amiss to think that he will not be involved at all this whole season. Mampimpi is probably sitting at, 49 or 48 caps now? 49? He's probably like
very close to 50, yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty... And I know Rassi wants to get to do that for Mampimpi. Merit, how you're playing right now being a factor, but there's also sort of that milestone that he feels, not that he feels that he owes it to Mampimpi or anything, but he's still... I mean, we heard him, how he feels with regards to age. For him, it's output that he looks at. So if Mampimpi can still catch a ball, can still catch a high ball, can still run, score a try, I think he deserves another chance. But yeah, look on your arm. It would be nice.
What about if you talk about Mampimpi, you have to talk about Vili. Has he reached his 100th cap?
Yes, he has.
Oh, okay. So
No.
he's done now.
Yeah, now
Mampimpi is at 33. Our what does it say? AI overview says. Let's see. Yeah, so Makazole Mampimpi has scored 33 tries for the Springboks in 48 tests. So
Yep.
he's 2 test matches away from a milestone of 50.
Yep.
With 33 tries.
Yeah, so, yeah. Luan Khilomi, I've put at fullback. I put Luan Khilomi at fullback. You could have put him at 10. You could have put him at 9. Maybe Zeketelo Siaya could have been there. Now, the reason I went with Zeketelo on the bench is because I really want Zeketelo to go to the under-20 and play there. I want him to be playing on the 27th of June for those under-20s. I want that kid to just demolish those under-20s. I really want that confidence for him. Marcus Muller also on the bench with Nico Steyn covering number 9. Ben Jason Dixon and Batobele Hlekani on the Lucy and Lock cover. What do you guys think of these teams?
Why is Batobele on the bench? Is it because you're assuming or you're speculating that there could be a niggling something there? Because of his demeanor at the practice?
No. He plays for the Lions, so he would have played an extra week more than Emmanuel Chituka.
You've put Franco Horn. Is it Franco Horn as number... Oh, he's also on the bench on the Springboks. Let's just check there.
Who's Franco Horn now?
Sorry, not Franco Horn.
Kewan Horn.
Kewan Horn, yeah.
Yeah, he's reserve. Again, I mean, having a Kewan Horn, it's one of those selections. Yakin Ahmed is one guy that can cover... Yes, cheapest guys. Yakin Ahmed, I've put at number 22 for the Springboks. Kewan Horn, you probably want to start a Kewan maybe at fullback and then have Fassi come off the bench because Fassi has played wing as well. I've never seen Kewan wear any other number but 15. And I'd like to think that kind of does sort of hinder your usage from the bench. Maybe a change there. Guys, it is a prediction. Like I said, I even tried to cheat. I went and... This was an experiment, if anything. I went and did my research. Rassi was saying all the nuggets. a lot of nuggets from that press conference with Rassie Erasmus. Talking about certain players that may get a lot of caps because they may be needed in the World Cup. Very interesting wording there. You may argue maybe a player like an Ethan Hooker, Ebatobele Hlekani, looking at how easily our locks can get injured. I mean, Arges Neyman is only available next year now, and you don't want to put your hopes in that he comes back full flight. So I think one of the locks, and especially with the Rassie confirming that Ruan Venter was actually a guy that we're looking at, and thanks to the Lions who were playing him at lock. So obviously that helped the Springbok camp to see him at lock and get him to get used to playing lock. But now he's also injured. So I do think about Tobele Hlekani. And if you look, I put him at 19 because I do think he may be coming off the bench at lock to cover lock there. So, yeah, some interesting stuff there. But those are the teams for next week's fixtures. It's a jam-packed week of rugby, guys. We've got URC final. We've got Super Rugby final. We've got Springboks versus Barbarians. We have actually got an England versus France A. So there's an England versus France, but a France A team that's also happening over the coming weekend. I think the Pro 14, I think they're only going to the quarterfinals now. Those guys are always slightly behind when it comes to playoff time. But yeah, a lot of rugby to look forward to. When we stand here next week, we are talking results. We are elated. We will know a lot of stuff. It's going to be a fast week. Rassie Erasmus will probably hit us with that starting lineup on Tuesday. We'll probably get another starting lineup on Wednesday. Guys, please take note that the Bulls are playing on Friday, not Saturday. It's the 19th of June, not the 20th, as I would have all assumed. Seemingly there's an event in the Leinster Stadium, hence they're not playing there as well. So that game will be on Friday, and then Saturday are the two double headers. The Springbok A plays at 12, so please get your Saturday started early next week, 12 o'clock, which I don't know if that's the build-up or the actual kickoff, but 12 o'clock, be ready. Your meat should be bride by then. And then 3 o'clock, the Springboks and the Barbarians take each other on. But yeah, guys, if you have any comments, guys, please do drop them down. We do engage under the comments. We will probably drop another show during the week discussing the starting lineups that will be released, obviously comparing with the predictions that we've just went through right now. But yeah, until, guys, the next video, we out.